You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen day in, day out. Whatever podcast platform you use, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show. 5-star ratings, written reviews, and of course, folks, now on YouTube. North of 450 subscriptions. Let's keep those coming. Hope you guys are truly enjoying it. Just another avenue for us. I did put out a tweet yesterday asking, even if you are just an audio guy or gal, go ahead, please subscribe anyway. Got some people to do that. So, truly appreciative of all of you for that. We're going to get into some things here today. Obviously, we'll have more, legit Browns coverage in the next couple of days as, OTA is officially going to get underway today. Some more workouts for the team. Within, obviously, the country within the past 24 hours, another difficult day. Everybody has so many feelings, and we're not going to go too in depth on this. Look, let's not ever think that we're going to be able to have a world that is perfect. I think we're all in the understanding of that is an unrealistic dream. But children, educators, that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It should be an absolute safe haven. I have 2 daughters who are teenagers. My wife works in a high school. This is stuff that, irks me to my core on a daily basis. One of the reasons I try to keep myself as busy as I can till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I know that everybody's okay and we can move on to the next day. And dealing with tragedy, and you go through obviously so much. And talking about that, this is Browns related right now. And I know it's not really been talked about, and I'm assuming he's trying to keep this as quiet as possible so he can focus on his family. Certainly focus on the job that the Cleveland Browns are paying him to do. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, obviously back. Everybody's seen some footage here and there. 100% to it, on the grind. Doing everything the Cleveland Browns ask him for as far as what his job is. But it's certainly a difficult situation. Like, I know for me, I went in the last few years. I lost my older brother, I lost my father. And what do you normally try to do in situations like that? You try to immerse yourself in your work. You know what I'm saying? So you can. I don't want to say take your mind off it, but start to focus on some other things. And I think this is, for me, G, and I think for everybody, this is one of the things that's just so impressive about a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is, he came in here last year, all business as a rookie, and there were certainly, some changes. A lot of the stuff he was doing for the Browns, he was doing at Notre Dame, in addition to doing other things. Now, as a full-time linebacker here in year two, obviously, sky is the limit for this young player, a dedicated player, an intense player, a ferocious player. But I think it's not getting the due it maybe deserves right now, and that may be on his end. But for a player to come in here and just basically have to clear everything out, and obviously there's a lot still unresolved as far as the passing of his brother, and it's certainly a tough time for him and his family. But number one, it's part of what football's about. Look, you ain't close with everybody in that locker room, but when you're all together, you're a team, you're a family. You got to get things done. So as many things as wants to point to maybe a negative currently in this locker room with the Browns in that situation, and we all understand, and with that type of stuff, it's inspiring to see a man going through everything he's going through, like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and still just this is my job, this is my livelihood, this is what I do, and it's still going to get 110% of my attention.
Well, I want to rewind it a little bit back to the beginning and kind of touch on some of the things that's going on in our country right now. For me, I don't understand it. I don't understand why it seems like the people that we're trying to preach education in this country. Everybody you ask says something about education, and education is this key to ending poverty, and education is the key to us being a better as a society. But why is it that the place where people are trying to get these educations are the most vulnerable. Why is it an opportunity for people to run up in schools or run up in churches and places of worship and praise and places of higher education and shoot those buildings up? And for me, I look at it like this, man. You know, we're doing, especially at the top of our food chain, the leaders in our country are not doing a thing about it. Steve Kerr said it. I'm not going to go more in depth as he did, but they're not doing what it needs to be done to protect kids. Why in earth can you have armed guards at the Capitol Hill? You got armed guards at every government building. We need to start having armed security at every single school, because at the end of the day, if we're not going to have individuals be safe by just because those places are supposed to be off. We all in society are supposed to think these places are off limits. Like, who would think of that? But until we can get a wrap on that, we need to have some sort of measures for kids to be not scared to go to school. And I think it's up to our elected officials to do things besides going back and forth about culture wars. We need to start actually doing something that really matters. And in this case, protecting your kids and your future generations. I will digress off that and move to JOK. And you talk about a person who is, the potential homicide. This is, they're investigating this. And I don't know what I would be able to do if I was going through that situation. You're never going to be able to, people say, I'll just put my life back together and keep moving. Nah, you don't put your life together after nothing like that. You just living. It's always going to be with you. It's always going to be there. When you look in the stands, you might look, man, certain things you do throughout the day, it's going to remind you of that person. And for him, my heart goes out to him, man, because I know how close my family is. And if I lose my brothers or I got two brothers, if I lost them, I would be freaking out. So one thing about football, though, football does give you an opportunity to have some normalcy. It gives you a routine so you don't have to think about it. It gives you something to be around people. It gives you an opportunity to be around your people. You got brothers outside, but you also have brothers inside the locker room who will help you through some of those things too. So I just believe that, JOK is immersing himself into football. But I would also say too, that the Browns and the organization need to put the proper people around him as far as grief counseling, as far as counseling for his family, and being able to talk to somebody and knowing that his mental health is the most important thing. Because yes, we want you as a football player, but we also want your mental health to be at a place where you can live and be a productive member of society after football happens.
And the other thing is, and we hear this from so many professional athletes, who get this opportunity, who work to get this opportunity, to maybe put themselves in an incredible financial position. And a lot of them, what do you hear? It's the same old thing. You want to be able to, share it with your family. You want to be able to, help your family out, put your families in better situations. And Jeremiah Usukoromo, on the verge of doing this. And then, something, terrible like this happens. And, when it's the way it happened, look, we understand some people pass away, obviously. But this particular incident, where there's a million questions and it's not just, my brother passed away from cancer. I lost so-and-so in a car accident. It appears that somebody, maliciously went out of their way to do something heinous to take his brother from him. And so, look, with this, obviously emotions come up with things from yesterday, and it kind of made me think about, just JOK, obviously different types of emotions, but people, everybody's dealing with something at every given time. And yes, there's major changes that need to be in this country, but there's also minor changes that needed to be made, simply as just being better people to each other. The complete disrespect I can see at simple stores. Somebody won't hold a door for somebody. Literally 2 seconds to hold a door for somebody. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it does. That's the whole point of it. That's people's defense. Oh, it doesn't really mean that much. It does. If we are just a genuinely better people to each other, hopefully, somehow, some way, it translates and it goes down further to these kids who we are trying to protect, who are going, these are the kids that are going to be making, these kids are going to be making decisions when we gray and old. They are going to be making the decisions on what is best for us. So you want to know what? I want them protected. I want them educated. I want them smart as hell. So hopefully they are making the smartest decisions for everybody when their generation basically comes to the point where they are in charge. We're going to get to some more football things here. Cleveland Browns right now currently got a pretty stacked running back room. And it's not too hard to see that the writing's kind of on the wall here. You ain't going to be able to keep all of them. So we're going to get into that. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, G. Bush here. Your latest Locked On Browns YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, kids. We need to tell you about Athletic Greens AG1. Our next partner has this product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because it was suggested to me. I'm sluggish in the morning. Part of it's age, part of it's diet, part of it's I don't take the best care of myself. But I got no choice. I got kids. We got to get up. We got to get moving. I got work to do. I got to sit down here every morning with Garrett. We've got to find a way to make it through the day here. So for me, vitamins, it's always been a little bit of an issue with vitamins. You got to take 1 million of them or they're so strong. You end up getting almost like a vitamin belly, which for me, I'm not really, I'm saying I've got a bellyache by 8 a.m. if I take the actual amount of vitamins I need to take. So with AG1, one delicious scoop, I get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start my day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, my nervous system, my immune system, my energy, my recovery, my focus, and most of all, guys, aging. When I consume it, I will pour my cup of coffee in the morning. I get myself a bottle of water. I mix the AG1 with the water. I notice as within the next hour, my alertness is coming to me just as much as it would be in the middle of the day. My wife has started taking it as well. It gets her going. It helps her get going. She's got to deal with a classroom full of special needs kids. She can't go in there and basically go in there at 50%. She's got to do what she's got to do. So it's really been a big change for her. It is lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten, it works with everything. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. And it still turns out to be pretty tasting good. Your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is also important to add these to the winter months when you do not get nearly as much sunlight. It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplemental routine to recover. It cost almost $100 a day. He created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create optimal nutrition, the routine of it, on his own. So he set out to do it himself. Athletic Greens is a client-neutral certified company. In 2020, AG purchased carbon benefits that support projects protecting old-growth rainforests. For every purchase, we donate to organizations helping to get nutritious foods to kids in need, including No Kids Hungry here in the U.S. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for 1 million type of pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Welcome back to Locked On Browns podcast. G. Bush in the building, Jeff Lloyd in the building. Make sure you are following us on Twitter at GBush91, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd on Twitter as well. And also, we want to make sure you guys know, make sure we are here on YouTube. You don't want to miss it. Hey, we're almost right now the end of May. We're looking at June. You know what that means. We're going to be talking about some running backs come up here. But guess what? Camp. We're going to have some camp information here. Your boy G. Bush will be out there with Adam the Bull. We will be out in camp some days. So I'm going to be able to come back here, and me and Jeff are going to definitely be able to talk about some of the things we see in camp. You don't want to miss those videos. So if you want to see those videos, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and make sure you go ahead and download our podcast as well, anywhere that you find your podcast. Now, Jeff, you talked about it before break. We're talking about the running backs, and we're going to get into kind of some position-by-position type things going into camp. And one of the most intriguing position groups is the running back group. You got 5 guys that you say are on the roster, and all those 5 guys, to be honest with you, have some talents, have unique skills. What's your thought on this deep running back skills preliminarily, like as a large overarching theme?
This is where it gets kind of tricky. And look, with Demetric Felton, we're not sure. There's some reports now that they think maybe he's more of a running back. There's still maybe some reports where maybe that was kind of overblown. He's going to be part of both rooms. That's a subject I'll get to here in a second. We know basically this room starts and falls with Nick Chubb. Browns now heavily invested with Nick for the future contract extension, one less thing to care about. And then there are a lot of people, an analytic lens, would a running back, is that the correct way to go? The point is with Nick Chubb is you're out there, and if you're talking to younger players on your roster, you point to Nick Chubb and say, work like that guy. That's what we're looking for. So yes, under an analytic lens, paying Nick Chubb this contract may not have fit an analytic lens. Some people break the mold. Nick Chubb is certainly that type of guy. He is your bell cow. I don't think the Browns have any interest in giving him north of 300 carries. They're not going to do what the Titans do with Derrick Henry. And part of that is now they are invested in the long haul with Nick Chubb. It's about 22. It's about 23. It's about 24. Having this player to be a part and not just burning him out early. You get to Kareem. And, again, one of the most untalked about points of last season as far as failures and things that didn't go right for the Cleveland Browns, not having Kareem Hunt for 9 games. For a team that had struggled passing the football, Kareem Hunt could have been a huge, huge asset. In my opinion, certainly would have turned the tides of a couple of games the Browns ended up on the losing end of last season. You drafted Jerome Ford, 5th round pick. Is anything essentially maybe guaranteed to a 5th round pick for the Cleveland Browns right now? No. But you look at the height, you look at the size, you look at the speed, you look at the production, and you can see that this is a player, the way this offensive line is construed, should succeed, would be able to eat if given opportunities. You had a situation with D'Ernest Johnson, and it almost seems like hard to grasp right now. D'Ernest Johnson would, if he does, obviously $2.5 million. The question is, how does he get himself any better than he did last year for the Browns? You figure Kareem's going to have more health. Jerome Ford is here. There's the possibility of Demetric Felton. So that certainly makes for a difficult situation for the Browns. I think Kareem Hunt, D'Ernest Johnson, and now Demetric Felton. For me, Demetric Felton, this is where it becomes difficult. If you try to look at it and say, wide receiver. Okay, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, the 2 rookies, that's 5. Jakeem Grant, that's 6. Demetric Felton would be your 7th. Jakeem Grant obviously signed to do return abilities. Felton did some of that last year, but if you gave this money to Jakeem Grant, this is his gig. So 7th wide receiver for Demetric Felton. You go to the running back room, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, D'Ernest Johnson, Jerome Ford. If he's the 7th wide receiver or the 5th running back, this is a really, really tough spot for Demetric Felton. There was some success last year, showed some ability in the slot. Obviously, against the Houston Texans, scored a big touchdown in the final game of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals. But we're in a spot here where it could be 1, if not 2. We don't know where the Browns are going to be as far as a fullback this year. Is that going to be something where maybe they can keep 4 running backs because we're going to use a tight end and we're going to go maybe H-back and we can line them up at fullback, similar to what they did in 2018. But it's a tough situation here. I don't know if you'd want to move on with Kareem because the potential of what you could lose. I mean, if something were to happen and Nick misses a couple of games, Kareem Hunt can step up and be a featured back. We all know we've already seen that. We're not necessarily sure everybody else can essentially do that. But this is now a tough room to read here right now. And you're going to have some guys working their butts off this summer for the Browns. And most likely it's going to be to open the eyes of another NFL GM, another NFL head coach who's going to say, hey, man, we lost a running back. I could use somebody who seems to excel. And all these Browns, look, they're all good. They all can contribute. And this is one of the more difficult things because the Cleveland Browns are going to be situations now where they got to move on from good players just because they don't have the room.
When you look at the different skill sets, I think it comes down to a couple of different things and a couple different players who are in jeopardy of possibly being a casualty of the Browns just being a great team. First of all, no one has to worry about Nick Chubb. 14 games last year, and he missed a couple of games last year, missed 2 games last year. But when you look at it, 1,259 yards, 8 touchdowns. You look at 5 yards per carry, 5.5 yards a carry. Also had 174 yards in the air as well. So Nick Chubb is a guy who is going to be there. And I think one of the main reasons Kevin Stefanski sometimes doesn't want to use Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield at the same time is because he likes to keep those guys fresh. He likes to get that fresh Kareem Hunt, right after you got to tackle Nick Chubb. And you get another running style and a Dearness Johnson that you can bring in that's more of a slasher, cutback runner. But I look at a couple of people. To me, Kareem Hunt, you look at it, what stands out for me for Kareem Hunt, only 8 games last year. 8 games for Kareem Hunt. Missed a ton of time last year. 386 yards, 5 touchdowns. He did put up some good yards in the passing game and the receiving game. But here's the thing. Only 8 games, and all of them are relatively young. Kareem Hunt is 26. Nick Chubb is 26. Dearness Johnson is 25. We all remember what Dearness Johnson was able to do against that game. Over 130, almost 140 yards against Denver in that primetime game when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were out.
And no Baker Mayfield, and everybody knew he was getting the ball.
Facts. And Case Keenum was playing, right? So I think this comes down to 2 people, Jeff. It comes down to Demetric Felton, and it's going to be down with Demetric Felton, Jerome Ford, and Kareem Hunt. If Jerome Ford comes in and looks like he's a monster and he's a guy that can play, I think the Browns may look to move on from Kareem Hunt. I think just by him being 26, he's injured, a little more injuries the last couple of years. I wouldn't want to do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if I saw them do it, especially if Jerome Ford is a guy that's really well or does really well. And Demetric Felton, I think he's another guy that could be a casualty. 23 years old, but you look at what they did in the draft and drafting David Bell. You look at Anthony Schwartz, I think is a gadget guy, kind of a special teams guy like him. And you said it, Jakeem Grant is another guy who can come in and do some of the same things that Felton could do, but he's faster. To me, there's 3 guys we got to look at here: Ford, Felton, and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, for me, it's a really difficult room right now. And it's going to be a fun thing to watch as we go on here. We got a couple listener questions we're going to get to here. One of them, actually, I jumped in and turned into a segment. So at 215 Derek, appreciate you sending that one over here. And this is why I like to do this, guys. Look, this time of year, we can give you the content you essentially want. Look, once we get into the regular season, these shows are essentially scripted as far as format and things to discuss. You got a pregame, you got a postgame. Most likely we'll be rolling John Costco in here, PFF grades, that type of things. So this is why I put these questions out. If you guys flood me and respond to the question, we get segments, and I can kind of personalize the show for all you great listeners. We'll get to a little bit more here, so a couple more listener questions. Garrett Bush, Jeff Lloyd, appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every day. Again, YouTube, hit that subscribe button, folks. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball scores. My Mets took a tough loss last night. That's all right, though. Fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. He does so many shows. He's got to get these lines.
Yeah, I was like, welcome back to the Ultimate Sports. Welcome back to the barbershop. Welcome. Listen,
you just better roll a welcome back from now on.
Yeah, just hey, come on back in here. It's Browns Locked On. You know what it is. Hey, we going through some some training camp stuff. We going through, and today we just happened to land on running backs. We talked a little bit about the running back, so the deep room. Now we're going through some of your fan questions. Let's get back to your fan questions. What do we got next coming up here on the docket, Jeff?
This is actually one here. The handle's tough, so we're not going to go with that. Robert S. Benjamin. Would it be conceivable? And I got to be honest, I saw this one last night, and I was kind of like, "Ooh, it definitely has some appeal to it." And I'm sure G. Bush, you, the former D lineman, possibility of things the Browns could do with the defensive line. Now we know Clowney can play on the inside in passing situations. We've seen Myles Garrett, his first career sack against the New York Jets in 2017, came on the inside. You could do a scenario where you put both Myles and you put Jadeveon Clowney on the inside, Alex Wright on an end, Chase Winovich on a right tackle. I mean, you could do this with Alex Wright conceivably too. He did do it at UAB. But, I mean, you want to talk about getting some dogs after the quarterback. G. Bush, you go with a pass rushing D-line of those 4 guys.
Man, I'll tell you what. One of the things I like that you can do, I like if you go back and watch Miami Miami did this a little bit last year, and I think the Browns, could be successful. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens game, they had everybody at the line of scrimmage. Nobody was back deep, and they would put 8, 9 guys, even linebackers, all evenly across the line of scrimmage. And at the snap of the football, people would either drop in coverage, people would then rush, people would then twist or move or make a cut to the outside. So they would all line up, and you didn't know really what responsibilities you had. So when you got guys standing up like Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, first of all, they're like really athletic. Second of all, they're really big. And second of all, they're long. Third of all, they're long and tall. So now you got guys standing up. The offensive linemen don't know where to get in their stance. They don't know who's covering. That's why you see, for all those people watching the football, the center's calling out those assignments. Like, hey, we're going here. The quarterback is saying, hey, which way do we need to slide the protection? If we do, am I going to keep a tight end in? And then there's a snap of the ball. Everybody moves to different directions. And it's like, if you think your clock was going fast to read the progressions and to figure out who's open as a quarterback, try doing that when you have no pre-snap notions or pre-snap judgments to go by where everybody's going to be at when the ball snaps. So they could do some of those things as well. I think they could get really creative with the defensive line.
Now, here's one I actually got sent to me in a DM. And look, if you want to send them that way, folks, you're more than welcome to. We all believe Amari Cooper will be the leading wide receiver in this team in receptions this season. But Garrett, and this is where the question I thought was pretty good, between David Bell, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, how do they rank? How do they rank 2, 3, 4 in receptions for the Browns in 2022?
That's a really good question.
I do like this one.
I would go. I'm gonna say this. I think David Bell gonna lead the second in receptions. I think Donovan.
If he hits the ground running, I think I agree with you. But go ahead.
Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, will get the most yards. I think he'll be more of a target deeper. I think he has a bigger body. He looks like a bigger red zone target a little bit. But in terms of the in-between, sitting down, catching the little drag routes, or if you're just running those little shallow crosses, I think David Bell's going to get a lot of those and rack up a lot of those little quick possessions.
The way I'm going to do it here is, I think it'll go 2, 3, 4. I think David Bell will have more receptions. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones will be third. And then I think most likely it would be Anthony Schwartz. But I will go with this. I think David Bell will have the most receptions. I do believe that Donovan Peoples-Jones will have the most receiving yards. And I think there's a good possibility Anthony Schwartz might have the most yards per catch. Ideally, I think that's the way. That's the way it would break down for your Browns. Obviously, we got to some stuff here today, a little bit off topic, but that's okay. With obviously what transpired here in the United States yesterday, and it just hurts to the core. It really does. Thinking about those families and even having to go in there and hear those words. I mean, obviously. At this point, obviously, thoughts and prayers aren't just doing enough. We need some people with some serious power and some serious juice to make some significant changes to this country. It's the bottom line. It is the damn bottom line. Talking about, obviously, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, basically going through it here and, transitioning into a new part of his life as he's, obviously got to grow up even more and deal with some difficultness while still trying to become the star player the Cleveland Browns hope he can be. How the running back room is going to work out, how the defensive line, the potential of some fun things that Joe Woods has there, and of course what's going to go on here with the young wide receivers. He is Garrett Bush. I am Jeff Lloyd. We are your hosts of Locked On Browns. We found on all your major podcast platforms. Make sure you're following or subscribed. Available now on YouTube. Subscribe. Closing in on 460. Let's get those numbers up. Please, please, please. With all of this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.